Greetings everybody, it's me again here to do another video. It's Friday the 20th of March 2026. My previous video I ended off by saying that the Jews or the Hebrews are still scattered across the earth amongst all the different nations. I debunked the doctrine of many that claim that God has fulfilled the prophecy of the return of the Jews to Israel in 1948. I said that the 1948 version of the fulfillment of biblical prophecy is incorrect, and I stated that the Hebrews are still scattered across the earth. In these videos, I indicated also that this platform doesn't lend itself to detailed evidence concerning what is being said. You either have to accept what I'm saying, or you need to go and research yourself to find out some of the claims that I'm making. Obviously, people who have not read the Bible, who do not study the Bible, will find this wide and large statements made as if the person is sucking it out of his thumb. But if I've said, for instance, that there's hundreds of scriptures in the Old Testament testifying to this epic drama concerning the Hebrews, their punishments for rebelling against the covenant they have with God, their exiles, their returns, then it's all there in the prophetic books of the Bible. You're either going to go and look for yourself and research, or you're going to reject this information. But as I said before, if it's not for you, you can bounce off. But here we are looking at truth, and we are striving towards truth according to the Bible. The Bible is a living book, a living testimony. If you accept it, that's very good. But if you reject it, that's to your own detriment. But back to the point here, I said that I'm not giving evidence, but today I will have a look at some scriptures to support the viewpoint that God is returning the Hebrews to their land in the fulfillment of prophecy. It is about to happen, but it has not happened, because as I said, the 1948 version is a man-made state. It's engineered, and it is not of God. There's several scriptures I could use, but if you really want to follow, you could pick up some of the information in my previous videos where I referred to Revelations 2 and 3, verses 9 in both 2 and 3, where it's talking about the synagogue of Satan. So have a look at that if you're really serious. But I'm going to look at, for instance, Isaiah 60. I'm using the New International Version. From verse 8 onwards, there is information that relates to this return it's in the future. It's a huge claim, but if you believe, then this is on the cards. I'll pick it up from verse 7, the latter part of verse 7. They will be accepted as offerings on my altar, and I will adorn my glorious temple. Verse 8, who are these that fly along like clouds, like doves to their nests? If I could pause there and say that this is referring to the return will not only be on ships, but will be by flight. International air travel. Poetic language, but much of the Bible is also using poetic language. But who are these that fly along like clouds? And then further in verse 9, surely the islands look to me. In the lead are the ships of Tarshish. Now, the ships of Tarshish indicates that just like the Hebrews were captured and transferred across the Atlantic, the transatlantic slave trade, they will be returned to their lands by ship. And I'm saying here from verse 8, by flights, international air travel. And it says further in verse 9 here, bringing your sons from afar with their silver and gold. Now, obviously, talking about sons means in that, after centuries, the actual people have perished, have died, but their sons, their seed, will be brought back, and they'll be brought back with silver and gold, just the way they left Egypt with Moses. Pharaoh had to give them gold and silver and jewels and all kinds of property. They never left empty-handed. In a similar way, in the future, these people will be taken back with silver and gold, with money. And it goes on here to say, to honor of the Lord your God, the Holy One of Israel, for he has endowed you with splendor. Verse 10, foreigners will rebuild your walls, and their kings shall serve you. So foreigners means in that the nations where these people were living for centuries, those foreigners will be building the walls of these people. And it talks about, and their kings. The kings in the Bible refers to the authorities, their government, their presidents, the people in leadership. They will serve you. So these Hebrews, they will be served by these peoples. And it continues, though in anger I struck you, in favor I will show you my compassion. So God struck the Hebrews in anger when he allowed them to be captured, defeated first in AD 70. They were under Roman occupation, and the Roman general Titus destroyed the city and the temple and banished the people from the place, and they escaped into Africa. And those that managed to escape, many of them were captured later and taken into human trafficking and ended up as slaves. Believe it or not, if you don't, that's your preserve. Then I'm going to go further here. I'll skip quite a bit here and talk about verse 13. There's a part I'd like to show you here. To adorn the place of my sanctuary, and I will glorify the place of my feet. This is where they're going to be settled. Verse 14, the sons of your oppressors will come bowing before you, and who despise you will bow down at your feet. So oppressors were the people like the slave owners and their generation that is alive today. They will come bowing before these people, and the people that despise them, and by the way, these people have been despised for centuries, and even today they despised. These other people, the oppressors, the generation or the descendants of the oppressors, will come and bow at their feet. If you can just drop your eye down further to verse 15. Although you have been forsaken and hated, with no one traveling through, I will make you the everlasting pride and the joy of all generations. It's a promise to these people in the far future. But just look at this part that I want to do, highlight the key words there. You have been forsaken and hated. Now, who's the people that are even today in many places are forsaken and hated? They're not the people that are claiming that position today. Have a thought about it. You'll see that it is not so. And if you drop your eye further to verse 18, no longer will violence be heard in your land, nor ruin or destruction within your borders. So yesterday, or the previous video, I stressed the point that God establishes these people in peace. And yeah, it's confirming that there will be no violence there, and there will be no ruin and destruction. If you look at the present country by the name of Israel, it's been pummeled, like I said yesterday, by Iranian missiles. The buildings are all in ruin, and people are in tears, and people are actually escaping into bomb shelters, etc., etc. So it's not a pretty picture. But let me conclude by saying this, that there would be quite a few people who will say, they still got that replacement theology, that God has forgotten the Jews or the Hebrews. They're no longer relevant. Let me remind you of something in the New Testament where Paul, who wrote most of the letters and books in the New Testament, states in chapter 11, and the heading in my Bible says the remnant of Israel. In other words, there will be people left of the lot will die in the process, but there will be those that are over. It says in verse 1 here, I ask then, did God reject his people? By no means. I am an Israelite myself, a descendant of Abram, from the tribe of Benjamin. God did not reject his people whom he foreknew, etc., etc. And it goes on and on there. So replacement theory or theology, debunking here, yet again. And to further add to this, in chapter 11, the latter part from verse 25, my Bible has the heading there, all Israel will be saved. All Israel. But obviously, the beginning of this chapter, the heading is the remnant. So all of the remnant will be saved. Verse 25, I do not want you to be ignorant of this mystery, brothers, so that you may not be conceited. Israel has experienced a hardening in part until the full number of the Gentiles has come in. And so all Israel will be saved, as it is written. And then there's a quotation of scripture here that Paul uses in this argument. So there's a little bit of the many, as I said, hundreds of prophecies of scripture in the Old Testament and also in the New Testament that verify the fact that the Hebrews still exist. They're still scattered. They're not the 1948. And this few scriptures here in Isaiah 60 and here in Romans 11, I've indicated some evidence that you may consider in your consideration of this argument. Do not be like many of the Christians today who say it doesn't matter as long as I believe like X, Y, and Z, etc. No, it does matter, and in other videos I've also indicated on other matters, other topics, similar topics, it does matter. It's crucial, like I said yesterday, the previous video, that if one ignores the evidence of this doctrine, this biblical evidence, then one can be easily on a wrong track in interpreting biblical prophecy. And if you interpret biblical prophecy to do with your and our future, and you are wrong, you will not be able to be prepared properly for the fulfillment of prophecy that includes yourself and myself. So have a great weekend further. Trust that you will have a great time and stay safe.